Welcome everybody to Numerai's Fireside Chat. Uh,
Q3 2025.
yeah, how many of these have we had? Loads.
A lot, yeah.
Um, the point of these is to try to connect with the Numerai community, go through some recent announcements, answer questions. If you're joining us for the first time, Numerai is the only kind of decentralized hedge fund in that the key thing that happens on Numerai is people are modeling all around the world. People are modeling our data, submitting signals to us, and then we trade that in our hedge fund. And one of the exciting things about recently is it's been a really like kind of long research project. You know, like you can do something and only 2 years later realize that wasn't quite right. And today we're going to be talking about numerized signals where people bring their own data. And there's been many changes to numerized signals over the years. And even recently we added a churn uh, limit, meaning we don't want signals to be too fast moving. And that happened, I don't know, 5 months ago, 6 months ago.
It was about last year,
Okay.
about like September.
So that had a big impact in terms of making the quality of the signals better. And so have other changes, but it's been slow. So I want to say to anyone on numerized signals, we really wish we could have known what we know today 4 years ago. And we would have not had to, change things so much. But I think you'll see we're like changing things for the better. Um, the new signals tends to have lower risk, far lower risk. So it's much harder to sort of get wrecked, so to speak. If you can have many users submitting in the past very factor exposed, high risk signals, and they might have been kind of blind to how risky that was. But because of the new neutralization matrices that have been released, they have so many factors in them that it really just squeezes all the risk out of the signal that we know about at Numerai, and it's really hundreds of factors, more than 500 little factors that are squeezed into those 200 columns. It's 200, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's been a very exciting development with signals, and so we're going to share the website soon. But I would say there's actually plenty of other news as well that's happened. And so one thing you might notice is Numerai has a new blog, and that new blog took all of our old blog posts from Medium, and then we've had two quite major blog posts recently. The one was about the signals upgrade, so you can take a look at that on blog.numer.ai if you haven't. And the other was the NMR purchase. So Numerai, the company, announced that we were buying $1 million worth of NMR. What are you up to, Noah?
Sorry. I won't be able to share the screen, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you just don't have rights.
Yeah. It didn't have the privacy set up.
Okay, no worries. Well, we can just talk about the Signals website afterwards. Um, So yeah, those two pieces of news have been kind of nice. Numerai's been kind of heads down on assets and other internal research and hiring. We have amazing new people at Numerai. Um, do you mind? What are you doing?
Pulling the slide up.
Okay. Sorry, I get very distracted easily. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, we actually have new people who've joined. So over the past few months, 3 months, we've hired three people. Um, One guy is actually a trading engineer from the big hedge fund called Volion. Another one is a LLM engineer from Meta who joined, and we even have a third one who's joining from Chicago. He's going to be remote, but he's been helping us for many years on infra, and we actually met him at NumerCon.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of yeah, he's been amazing, and so we've decided to bring him on full time, starting pretty soon. So those three hires are kind of really all incredible, amazing backgrounds and perfect fit for the needs that we have. Another thing we announced in the blog post is actually the growth in our assets. Our AUM has grown 155% in the past year, from 170 million to 440 million. And just a year ago, uh, just 3 years ago, it was something like 60, 70 million. So to go from 70 to 150, sorry, 170 to 440 is amazing. And we actually think we're kind of on track to get to the $1 billion level. It just takes another doubling, and we're always doubling. So it seems kind of likely, and that is a very magical spot for a hedge fund, because there are many allocators that actually don't really invest until you have $1 billion. Um, they don't want to, you know, stake their reputation on you when you're still small. They want to have other people's reputation, they want to sort of leverage off other people's due diligence. The other thing is some allocators have so much money, like almost $1 trillion, that it doesn't make any sense for them to give you any less than 500 million or 250 million. And they never want to do that if you're small, because then they're more than half of your fund. And so the billion level is really important. It's also very nice for profitability and sustainability of the whole business. We've been a very lean team, and it's really too lean. Noah has done so much on the tournament. Um, I should say we also hired Josh. He's a bit older than these other three hires who are coming in more recently,
Yeah.
but Josh is a new tournament engineer that's working with Noah and has been doing incredible work as well. So there's really a lot going on in Numerai, and in fact, it's sort of for me, it's like it's the best time ever, by far. Like for like seeing it all coming together. So I'm really excited, and I hope to bring more of that excitement to the world. Like I said, we've sort of been hiding away, not really updating people with our blog posts as much as we used to, and not doing much marketing. But today, that is kind of changing big time. And there's one thing I would like to say. Unfortunately, we don't have a date for you, but there will be another NumerCon, and it will be in San Francisco, and it will be at the peak of the AI age, which will be uh, early next year, probably February, but something like Q1 next year. And we want to bring as many people as we can. Um, we want to, fly out people, um, if they're grandmasters or top Numerai people, contributors. We want to help get as many of you here as well. We'll try to bring some of our LP investors, and we'll try to bring some famous people in quant land. And yeah, I don't want to say more about that, but it'll be really cool. And it's been a long time coming. The last one was, I think, 2021
It was a while back.
or two. No,
It might have been
two.
2022. Yeah.
Okay. So it's definitely due. And yeah, we'll have so much to say and announce then as well, because yeah, there's plenty going on, and well, yeah, I'm not allowed to spoil anything. So yeah, hope we can see you there. Start thinking about that February, and block it off and come visit us in San Francisco. Okay, anything I missed in the kind of update?
I think you touched on a lot of the really important stuff. Obviously, the hiring, the buyback, and then obviously signals is like is like our latest and greatest update to the tournaments. It includes the new data, the neutralizers and the sample weights. It includes 2 new scores, including alpha and MPC, which we can dive into shortly. And then it also includes turnover, which is this kind of new concept similar to churn, and we really think it'll steer signals in the right direction. We really want signals to be valuable to the hedge fund. We want it to improve the overall performance of the hedge fund. And we really think that these changes are going to do a lot to kind of like help us along, and help signals users along as well.
And yeah, the other thing I like about it is it's even making the signals more monetizable, like for you. Like if you're doing Numerai to learn about quant and you don't have, factors to neutralize by, you're not going to learn that much about how to make the real quant signals that work on high capacity. So I think it's also like better for you. And even if you want to trade your own signal, because you can on Numerai signals, they're yours to trade, you'll be able to do that better because it's just so much better with these new neutralizers. So I think it's pretty cool. Should we get into questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start answering some questions here. We can start at the top here. So we have a couple questions here that are semi-related. One person asks, the neutralizer weights datasets have delayed data. It means that local calculation before submissions and the Numerai calculation after might disagree. Is there an issue here? I think this person is basically asking, why are you delaying the data? Shouldn't we have access to the data? And is that going to negatively affect our submissions somehow? Additionally, another person asks, anything new planned for Classic tournament? And I think these kind of tie in together a bit.
Which 2 are we talking about?
These top 2 here.
Okay.
So the first question, which is, why are these data sets delayed and is there going to be an issue here? We don't expect there to be really a huge discrepancy between the delayed data and what we're calculating for your scores. But we do see that there could be, some hiccups where a user needs to have the live neutralizers and sample weights. Unfortunately, right now we can't really support that process, but we are open to considering, releasing neutralizers and sample weights live. The new 2.1 signals dataset, the neutralization matrix, and the sample weights vector. We do want to consider releasing those live. One change we might have to make to do that is to actually move the Saturday morning round start up to Monday. And that's kind of because these neutralizers and sample weights actually rely on a lot of data that is generated over the weekend. And we don't actually have that data available until Monday morning. So in order to actually make that change, we would have to make the weekend round start and end on Monday morning, just like every other round, which actually might be better in a lot of ways. So this is kind of a tournament change where we've been considering for the last few quarters, and we might want to implement this for Q4, which is we just normalize the start and end times for all of the rounds. So they each occur 1 hour on weekdays only. This makes our lives easier as engineers, so we don't have to be waking up on Saturday mornings, when users ping us that they can't submit. It also makes it a little bit easier, I think, for all of the users to understand that, there's a very set schedule. There's no exceptions to it. It's a very normalized, regular schedule. And then it also allows us to release these neutralizers and sample weights in live. So that's like one big tournament change that I think we might be implementing in the next quarter or so.
Classic and signals.
Yeah, Classic, signals, crypto. I think all of the tournaments should kind of like operate on the same schedule, which is like 1 hour weekday mornings That way we can kind of all be on the same schedule, all be on the same page. There's no exceptions, and we also don't have to break our Saturday mornings just to make sure the tournaments are working. Okay. One person asks, adopt 4 to 12 week rolling MMC stats. Recent sector drawdowns proved adaptive models win, yet bloated yearly averages hide them. Rewarding resilience aligns with MMC's aim. More of a suggestion than a question, but I see where this is going. Basically, they want to be able to judge short-term reversals in performance and be able to detect which models are better at which times. Um, but as Warren Buffett always said, um, timing the market, time in the market is better than timing the market, which is to say that timing the market is essentially impossible. And if you want to time your models to be performant, and you could predict that, then you should just be able to predict the stock market, period, right?
Yeah, I'm not
So,
sure what his motivation is here. Is he just saying it to view,
yeah, so
like wants a view of that's
I
12 weeks long?
yeah, I think the aim is basically like being able to see shorter term performances,
Okay.
just to be able to rank models on who's best recently. Um,
Yeah.
but that kind of is like missing the point of long-term performance.
Yeah. Especially when the targets are 60 days long. Like that's really one sample.
Yeah.
Uh,
One thing that could help here, and we were talking about this before the call, is a Sharpe value. So a Sharpe value will actually kind of take into account the volatility of your performance, which I think is kind of what this person is getting at. And if we start showing Sharpe values on the website and be able to rank by Sharpe, that will actually kind of show you, oh, this person has had a huge drawdown over a 4 week period. Their Sharpe is lower and they rank lower on the Sharpe scale. So that's something that we could definitely think about releasing. I believe we're actually calculating some Sharpe values on the back end at some point. So it's just about wiring that up to the front end somehow. And that's definitely something we could talk about doing in the next like few months. Okay, next question. Propose a Numerai, propose Numerai a higher frequency latency intensive tournament. Intraday futures FX 23 by 5. Absorbing more capital without crowding daily main book plus better factor risk.
yeah, I mean, this is something a lot of funds do, obviously, is trade much shorter than we do. One thing I don't like about it is actually um it's like very competitive. So you start to need insane infrastructure investments, I don't know what some of the things people have, microwave towers from one city to another or whatever. So there's that type of high frequency. And also, I don't know, like I don't know if I care about it as a problem. Like I actually like what we do, where it's like we get a lot of fundamental data, some really the deeper and deeper insights into the companies. Those types of things work on a longer horizon than technical kind of glitch, like this exchange is quoting us a better price than this exchange, so I'm going to do like ARB. That type of trading, I don't really, never really wanted Numerai to do that. I think it's nicer if we longer term for the world. And also, I think it's nicer for us in the long run because basically, you don't want we don't the value of $100 million strategy that they can only have 100 million in capacity is almost nothing to us. Like we want to be billions of dollars, 2 billion, 6 billion. That's the type of level we can get to with our long horizon trading. So we kind of want to stay there. But it is a little bit like throwing away money, you might say. Like we could, if we made a very high frequency, low capacity thing, our numbers would have looked really good. But then any sophisticated investor who dug into our numbers would be like, yeah, but you made all the money on these small cap names, and you'll never be able to scale that strategy. But now when people look at our trades, it's like, oh yeah, we made money from like big companies, US companies, with high market caps. And that's more encouraging to investors who really also don't have the time to like bother with 100 million strategy.
Okay. Next question is, congrats on buyback. Wen NumerCon?
Thank
Yep.
you. Yeah, February.
Yeah, that's early 2026. That's when we're planning on doing it. But we still need to lock down all the details. So stay tuned for more information on that. Is Numerai satisfied with the outcome? There's three questions here that are kind of all related. First one is Numerai satisfied with the outcome of crypto? What's the plan moving forward? Number two is, will the scoring for crypto tournament be reviewed? Users aren't incentivized by their correlation with the target. Number three
Or should we do
is,
one at a time?
yeah, we could do one at a time. So I'm fairly happy with the outcome of the crypto tournament. Obviously, it was kind of a thing we planned in pretty short and planned and executed in pretty short succession. And I thought we did a pretty good job kind of shipping something pretty quickly for Numerai Crypto, just as like an extra piece of utility for the numerator market and Numerai users. We wanted an extra tournament to play in, and we wanted to test out, like we knew the meta model idea worked. We knew that meta model supremacy was a thing. So we wanted to see if that also applied to crypto, because uh, we're not interested in trading it, but we are interested in it because we have NMR as a token, as a crypto token. And it's just like a fascinating kind of semi-novel market that doesn't have a ton of data around it. And we wanted to see if all of the machine learning methods that work on Numerai and signals might also apply to crypto. And it seems like it kind of does in a lot of ways.
Yeah, way more than I thought it would.
And the plan moving forward, obviously, is to upgrade and improve the crypto tournament. We do want to come up with some strategies to improve the data set and improve the scoring. It's not a top priority for us right now. Obviously, the top priority was signals. That can make us money. Numerai Crypto can't really make us money right now. So it's just about balancing these kind of priorities. But we do want to improve the crypto tournament.
Yeah, and how? I mean, the obvious things are some people say it's not available on the weekend, which is seems
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Maybe that can be sort of thought about during the time we switch to Monday
yeah.
or something.
So yeah, if we switch all the tournaments to Monday, there's a chance here that we could add 2 additional days to crypto, which are Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings. And I do see that being an easier switch because if you think about it from a configurability standpoint, it is more regular even than having one 48-hour round on the weekend. Efficient Meerkat has has trolled us quite a bit on Discord. Love it. I love the input and I love the passion. The next question is semi-related. Will the scoring for the crypto tournament be reviewed since users aren't incentivized by their correlation with the target? Again, yes. I mean, I think the signals updates kind of taught us a lot about how to do neutralization and sample weighting, and the notion of alpha and MPC is pretty interesting. And I've been thinking about ways to potentially apply that to Numerai Crypto. I don't know exactly how we would do that. We did this research competition a while back for factors in the crypto market.
Yeah.
And we could potentially use some of that research to come up with neutralization matrices and sample weighting for Numerai Crypto. Those are just ideas that have been floating around my head for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it is much harder to make the factors. I think the main thing is getting the universe right.
Yeah.
Because the universe includes all these names and that you can't really short. and other issues. So
Yeah, and that leads us to the third question here, which is, will the crypto universe be adjusted to align with tradable tokens on top exchanges? The answer is yes. I do have a V2 crypto data pipeline running in the background. It is producing data and caching it in our buckets. The only issue with that right now is we had to get the signals update out the door. We also have some other high priority kind of quality of life improvements for the tournament website that crypto V2 dataset. And I believe that should be coming, if not this month, then next month. I do want to have it out by the end of the quarter. And it is already at least 50% of the way done. And it's looking a lot better. We're kind of shrinking the universe from 500 tokens to, I think, 200 or 300 tokens. And those are going to be a lot more shortable, a lot more aligned with the top exchanges. And it's just about kind of coalescing a lot of the data around the top exchanges. And Josh actually has a little bit of experience doing that kind of in his off time. So I'm going to have him take a look at that.
when do you think it gets released?
Yeah, like I said, it's probably going to be sometime next month.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely before the end of the quarter.
Because it is kind of built, right?
It is mostly built, yeah. There's just like some final kind of quality checks that I want to run on it and make sure that it is kind of like a drastic improvement from the previous universe. And then there's the whole rollout process that we have to do. So we're kind of going to get that prepped this month, and I expect a release like early to mid next month.
Will you be increasing the payouts?
I will
On
consider
board.
it. Yeah, if one aspect about new correlation is that as the universe shrinks, correlation can get larger because there's essentially less tokens. So it can also get a lot more volatile, and increasing multipliers on payouts are going to have a larger effect on crypto in the crypto tournament. I mean, than it will on Numerai signals, because Numerai signals have thousands of stocks in their universe versus a few hundred tokens. So if we do change the payouts, it'll be very small. It'll be tiny increments in one direction or the other. But I have considered bringing back correlation payouts at a tiny, tiny weight, as long as it aligns with kind of our profitability goals.
Yeah, I mean, especially if the signals are higher quality, we should pay more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
We have some brand new questions as well that were added recently. If we want to go ahead and take a look at these, we can answer
yeah.
or not.
When 1 billion AUM? So yeah, like I said, it actually could be this year, but we don't really know. One of the things that's difficult is how long the sales cycle is for LP assets. It's some people say it's the longest sales cycle in the world. There's an investor that we met in for the first time in 2018, and then have met them every 6 months since 2018. And like the first money, recently hit our account, their first investment. So people are incredibly risk averse, incredibly like averse to new things in that part of the investment universe, right? The VCs and other investors are less risk averse, and but this type of money it's really supposed to be into something that is this very smooth ride up, and startup hedge funds typically will have 1 or 2 bad years while they're building. And so a lot of them are too wise to jump in early. But this end of this year, we will be at 6 years of doing this. That is, thousands of tournament starts, and we've really kind of perfected things. And that's what investors are seeing. And so, yeah, I do think the 1 billion's it is our goal this year. But we never sure exactly when. money can come in because people be like, oh, well, we're too busy with other stuff. So it'll be delayed till next year, and we have to be patient.
Okay. How about this one?
We can't answer that.
Okay.
It's a lot of things we can't answer for regulatory reasons.
Yeah. This one I think we can answer. How do you feel about MMC since the switch from TC? Any research been done to replace it? I think, I mean, I really like MMC. I really liked True Contribution as an idea. Obviously, in practice, it turned out to be much too volatile and difficult to train on and too black box. MMC is very much the opposite. You can do a lot of things to kind of optimize for this. Andreas, do you have any kind of ideas here?
Yeah, I mean, on the signal side, the alpha and MPC are like more similar, and maybe not all of those ideas can completely translate over to classic, but some of them might. I mean, MMC is nice in that you can sort of write down a formula for it, instead of TC is sort of black boxy. So looking at something like signals, people can do a lot with in terms of improving their alpha. So we have like these new chili targets that you try to predict on, but they might have exposures to different things, or they might have things with low weights at the tails of the target. So there's a lot of modifications users could do, like, oh, I'm going to downweight any target that has low sample weight. Or I'm gonna try to use something like a linear algebra solver or some sort of sorting algorithm to try to figure out what best prediction I can do to optimize for the new alpha scores, or if they can predict what other people will be predicting, um, that also gives you something that's more or less a proxy for for the new MPC, which is like MMC for alpha. And some of these ideas might also translate back to MMC in terms of people being able to do better on MMC. If you can create targets that do better on MMC, or if you can use gradients that somehow improve your MMC, there's a lot of translation between the two, and um, I mean, we're already seeing on the tournament, on the signals tournament side of things, MPC will be replacing MMC. It's just there's different considerations with the classic tournament than with signals.
Yeah, one of the things we found interesting is like we can see how much these changes help on signals. Like it just makes a way better signal for us to have these neutralizations applied to everybody and then add everyone up versus just add everyone up as we normally do, just at the signal level. You kind of adding them up at these portfolio levels, you get a much better signal. When we tried the same thing with Classic, it actually didn't help that much because so many of those signals are already so neutral. People on Classic can't use their own data, so they're using our kind of pre-tested data. And so it's hard to kind of go wrong. But signals, there's so many ways people can go wrong, and then they can be very big stakers and be running like some massive risk. So yeah, it's something I don't think I used to think it would make its way to Classic, but I don't see it right now. Like we don't need to do it on Classic.
Yeah. I mean, semi-related, this next question is, why haven't you changed the payout formula to consider MMC 60, as said in the last Fireside Chat? What are the plans to get better payouts to top models? So yeah, this is kind of like on the same subject of switching from MMC. We did introduce these Core 60 and MMC 60 scores to the leaderboard. We did say that we were considering changing the payouts to 60D. Then we looked at the website and we actually saw that the meta models were already really good. Like the Numerai meta model is already really good at Core 60, even without paying on MMC 60. So we were not.
It's winning Core
Yeah.
60. Yeah.
we're not entirely confident that switching to a 60-day payout and forcing people to lock up their funds for 3 months rather than 1 month is necessary even.
And that was a surprise. We really thought, well, we know we want core 60 to be high. When we can make the meta model higher, it's like, it's already the best out of everybody at that measurement. So yeah, I do think it's like there's something about all the care we take with targets and features on Classic that makes it pretty good at what we wanted to achieve without making it the tournament longer.
Yeah. I think that that's not to say that we will never switch to a 60D payout. It's just not something that is a top priority for us right now. And we are always trying to find good ways to make the best models paid out well. But it does take time, and we are a small team. So our main focus was signals. Now my job is obviously as chief tournament officer is to just make the tournaments better, period. And so that's what I'm going to be searching for over the next couple of years of my career is going to be the next step. How did Numerai perform during the recent turbulent markets as a neutral fund? I don't think we can answer that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about
Can't talk about performance.
but you can see the performance kind of on the websites. You can see how the stake-weighted meta model took a break from, I would say, making positive correlation with the targets, but it wasn't negative. It wasn't that negative. And so you can kind of sometimes see from our website what might be happening in the quant landscape. One of the things I like about this sort of pause in performance is Tiger models, which we were emphasizing. Tiger is a very good target. It's good in tough times. And we saw Tiger models doing well and actually still making nice positive correlation. Not as good as normal, but still positive. And that's what's so great about having multiple targets. A lot of people are using Tiger somehow in their ensemble of models, and that makes an event like this much better for us because there's diversity of models and people trying to get MMC and very bad times. I actually think if you recall, if you're around in 2023, we had very bad performance and the correlation of our models was like -6% for a period. And you know, everything we've done has made that type of thing so much more so difficult. And then you see now in this live stressed market where you're reading about QRT going down 7% in a month. This is a very leveraged French quant fund, and DE Shaw going down, and all these big 2 Sigma going down, like all these big guys are doing badly. And so you might think, oh gosh, I guess Numerai is going to be in a huge drawdown in terms of the correlation on the website. And yeah, it's actually not. It's just kind of flat, which is pretty much as good as it gets in a crisis. Is to be flat is to be winning. So I think it's good for us to have more live evidence of our risks working, our targets working, our data scientists' quality being higher than ever. Yeah, kind of couldn't be going better. So
yeah,
we do like a good crisis.
Speaking specifically to scoring in turbulent markets is from the user perspective and kind of reaching back to this MMC conversation is you can see as the meta model on the website kind of flattens out in correlation, and we can see the payouts to users kind of have decreased in the last month or so because of the turbulent markets and because it's much more difficult to predict the current
harder to
last
have
few eras.
Positive core.
And also like this is why MMC I think works so well is that it can correct user models to kind of flatten out this reduction in core in the meta model.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if you did see, you had very positive MMC, and during a challenging time, you have very negative MMC, you might have been kind of riding a risk that you probably don't want to be riding. Because, you know, if something like an event like this can happen, you don't quite know how long it will last. What if, say, this last 2 months is flat, but it goes on for 3 or 4? That's where you'd much rather be flat than down, 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 down every month, you know. So yeah, I think the feedback from the tournament is gonna, I hope, because I know there were some data scientists saying, oh, Tiga is not going to help. How could training your model on Tiga targets help my Cyrus correlation? I'm going to ignore. And it's like, yeah, but that's why you don't ignore it. It's like you're going to have worse sharp than other people who are combining both.
Yes, I've heard something kind of similar, which is the flip side of doing very poorly on MMC in this sort of time, is there's people who sort of lament um, the rewards of trying to make less risky of signals, and they submit and they think, oh, I'm not that well rewarded. But then when a time like this comes, they might have very high MMC because, oh, all the risks that other people were taking are hurting them, and now this more neutral signal is helping the meta model, and it's getting a lot of MMC, and so it's like a sort of insurance, and you got paid very well on MMC. It has a high multiplier, and that can help a lot during a drawdown.
Yeah. That kind of feeds into the next two-parter question. With 0.3 times alpha plus 0.8 times NPC payout model planned, we can predict only 3/11ths of our payout, and the other part is quote unquote gambling. It's not gambling. To reduce the latter, see part 2, do you plan to release the meta model so that we can monitor and tune performance locally instead of launching many slots live and hope for the best? I don't really think you have to.
He's talking about signals, right?
Yeah, talking about signals and alpha and NPC and the payouts and the worry about having 3/11ths of your payout count towards your payout. I mean, one consideration is that the payouts on Numerai are 0.5 core, which is predictable, and 2 times MMC. So you have about only 20% of your payout is predictable, which is even less than signals. So actually, we're being nicer on signals, which is kind of
except you do get the meta model.
Yeah,
Classic.
except you do get the meta model, and that's kind of what they're asking is, are you going to release a meta model? That's something we can consider. We might be able to release the post-neutralized meta model. One issue with releasing the meta model is large stakers can have their signals essentially revealed in the meta model. So any release of the meta model is going to have to be done carefully and ensure that we aren't revealing other people's signals.
Yeah.
So it's something we can consider, but we can't promise anything right now.
We once gave it away, the signals meta model, and one user in particular didn't like it at all that we had done that. He was like, you can't just give away my signal. And I was like, well, it's combined with everyone else's. And they didn't like it. I would like to, and I think, but I would like to do it with maybe a very long lag, maybe a whole year lag.
Could do, yeah.
Because I do think people should, I do think a year is a long time. Machine learning advances, data advances, signals we had 2 years ago and systems we had 2 years ago that we were proud of then, we are ashamed of today, because things get so much better so quickly. So either you have this orientation that you have some secret that no one else will ever discover, or you have an orientation that like you're living in the AI age and like everything in the world's going at light speed. And I think that orientation is more like accurate, which is actually why Numerai is sort of the least secretive hedge fund out there. We don't really believe that much of what's happening in the world today is like technologically impressive to anybody in the future 5 years from now.
I mean, one thing to consider as well is that there are already users and signals that have high alpha and MPC reliably with high Sharp. So it's not that this is an impossible thing or it's a gamble. You just have to have the right data, have to have the right training methods, and know what you're doing in terms of neutralization and optimizing your predictions to be neutralized and weighted and
Yeah.
support an alpha and MPC.
And I would say that that is actually like identical to what Signals is about. It's actually about getting better data.
Yeah.
You will not do well with cheap internet data. I really don't think so. You do have to actually like take your payouts, save them, and buy data, some interesting data, or make your own data. You can make special features from data. So I think that's the kind of thing like what the winning submissions do. Like I'm pretty sure like we've seen some of the people who do well, like you have a strong sense that they actually maybe have like spent $100,000 a year on data. Now that might sound like a lot, but then their returns were 3,000% yield
Yeah.
on their stakes. People like the top guy on the leaderboard,
Nine Sigma.
Nine Sigma,
Yeah.
Shallow Alpha. So I hope that people realize that and try to think about it also like some people think about trading as I'm going to do whatever makes me the most money. And that is a lot of people on Wall Street are literally like they just rank all the things they can do today by how much money they can make in the short term, and they follow those signals like lemmings in a way. But actually, you can be like you can think about it in a different way, which is like there's very important information that isn't reaching the market, and you can help the market and all of its participants by bringing that information in a nice way to the market. And you can say, well, you can be say I have a very high risk tolerance and I'm going to run very high risk because I want that. That's also think about it as like that might be bad for the world too. Like you, maybe it's a bit of like a rant, but like if you are too risky, you are basically putting the world at your you are at some point going to have to rely on your friends to sleep on their couch. And then you are now a drain on society because you didn't take appropriate risk. So you can basically try to think about it that way. Like you want to basically you want to help the market for as long as possible, and but you can help it the most by bringing interesting data and interesting modeling techniques on that data. And if you can do that, then don't overbet and do something risky. Like, yeah, this model might fail completely, but I'm still going to YOLO stake it. We used to have users like that, but of course they're now sleeping on their friends' couches. And what for? That so that's very important with signals. Don't ignore the fact that you need to get data. And I would be interested to know if there's anybody you can tell me in signals, anybody in the top 10 or something on signals that is using price volume data. I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think the only person that might be doing that is Murky. And they are also incredibly intelligent and they're kind of it's very rare that you can be able to take kind of really basic data and turn that into a really valuable signal. So I wouldn't bet on that. I would not rely on your ability to be perfect, right? Just try to find really interesting novel data.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if he didn't at this
Yeah.
point have gone and got some good data.
I would also be a bit surprised.
Yeah, when we actually just as a story, Numerai used to, we had very limited data, and we spent hours and hours, working weekends making models on limited data. And at some point, we hired Mike P, and he just he just had something about him. He didn't actually care about making models better and better. He just wanted to make the data better and better. And very, very often, the lift in performance that we've had has come from just adding data.
Yeah, you can
Doing
even
the same thing.
even when we were doing alpha and MPC research, you could see a very marked inflection point when we released V2 signals data around, I think that was the beginning of 2024, beginning or middle of 2024. You can see a market change. It was very flat and kind of down for a while in alpha space, and then the signals meta model just takes off and has very, very solid historical performance after the V2 signals release. So we know that data is a very key element, and specifically in signals as well. Data is a very key element.
And the rewards are huge on signals. I'm just reading off one of those users, 9 Sigma. His 1 year return was 33x on what he staked. So 3,000%. So the rewards are very high for adding real alpha.
Yeah.
And he definitely had very good data.
We kind of already touched on this next question, which is, will this new signals payout scheme, alpha plus MPC, ever come to Classic? I think the answer is kind of no-ish.
Kind of no, yeah.
We don't really need to.
We used to think it would come, but it's not going to be. The other thing is, yeah, even giving out neutralization matrices that have to be kind of even more obfuscated, and I just don't think we need it.
Yeah. The Numerai dataset is already very good at being kind of long-term and neutral to a lot of things. So, but signals, the dataset is very basic. And again, kind of stressing this point, you need to bring data that is both long-term looking and going to be good at producing a neutralized signal. What are your views on, what are your views on regulation changes and how they affect the Numerai token, as well as new ideas being generated for NMR?
I mean, I do think that the US this administration has a strong crypto posture. Just a few days ago, I saw Eric Trump saying now is a good time to buy Ether. What a normie. The right time was like 10 years ago. But anyway, yeah, I think there is a lot of people who in the administration and that have things happening. But I would still say there's still kind of nothing that seems that definitive on what will happen next. And we just, every year we spend a lot of money on our legal team to make sure that we are the best actor in the whole United States crypto scene. Because we just, at every turn, we've tried to do the best thing. I mean, I've got a number of friends who were raising $250 million ICOs, and Numerai just gave NMR away for free to our users. And I think, and that was because selling these things to retail investors didn't seem like legal or the right thing to do. Maybe it was just sort of setting expectations wrong. So we try to be as good as we can. And I do think it's an exciting time for crypto. I loved what Brian Armstrong, actually from Coinbase, someone I know, and I always text him because I always just am so impressed with him. He's so thoughtful and careful, but he's also relentless. And he's done so much to push the agenda forward, just get some sensible stuff. And I do think it's so much better for people. If you ban things imagine USDC was banned because it's an American thing, it's created by Coinbase and another company, and imagine that was banned, and then the whole market's forced to go buy a less safe stablecoin made by Terra Luna or whatever. I mean, why delay allowing good actors? You're actually enabling bad actors by having no clarity for good actors. So that's always what I thought about it. And the US looks like they're getting better at understanding this. Nah. Book recommendation.
Book recommendation?
Actually, I have some ideas for books that we're going to give away at NumerCon.
Oh, yeah?
And maybe bring the authors.
Okay, that would be fun.
Yeah. Quant books.
All right, so stay tuned. If you come to NumerCon, you might get some free books.
Yeah.
Please talk a little about the 12-week lockups in setup 4. So yeah, the staking system is based on when targets and scores resolve. 20-day targets, 20-day scores resolve 20 business days, which is exactly 4 weeks after the first score drops. There's a little bit of lag in terms of data and targets, but basically after your first score, 20 days later for a 20-day score, that's 4 weeks, you get paid. We have to lock your stake up during that 4-week period. Otherwise, you could basically rug pull us, take your stake away right before we're about to burn you a lot, and then we have no recourse of actually punishing you for giving us bad predictions. The 12-week lockup period is because we will be transitioning to alpha and MPC, which are 60-day scores. So 60-day scores are against 60-day targets. There's 60 business days, which is 12 weeks, 60 divided by 5. So yeah, we have to transition from 4-week lockup periods to 12-week lockup periods so that we can resolve all of the 60-day scores and we can pay you or burn you accordingly with those scores. So that is why we have to move to a 12-week lockup period. Yeah, I think that's it. Next question. Keep up the good work, everyone. Happy to see more resources and time spent making improvements to the tournament. Thank you very much, Anonymous. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Obviously, with a few of the tournament team members kind of leaving, it was difficult for a while to kind of keep up development work. We really tried to focus on some really core improvements. Obviously, we had the payouts changes. We had a dataset release for the Classic tournament. But having Josh and being able to really ramp up development and focus on really core things, as well as getting rid of all of the kind of day-to-day toil, has really improved the amount of resources we can actually pour into the tournament. We're really happy about that. What happened to the idea of having multiple MMCs for different targets? I think we're kind of still playing around with this idea.
Better versions of Tiga and other targets. And those might be good ones to just run a whole separate tournament on. Like, do you want to stake on Tiga? Do you want to stake on Cyrus? Because it's nice to have separation to basically, it's nice for us to know which target you really are going for. So I think that could happen by the end of the year. But it's just kind of irritating. Like, it'll be like, now we have 2 season leaderboards and 2 different payout factors and lots of website changes would have to happen. And but yeah, I'm sure we can do it. I don't want it to make it complicated.
Yeah, it'll definitely require some thought. I think we already have a few ideas on the back end of how we could pay out and stake on different scores, basically like a piecemeal score staking system. But it's definitely something that we have to kind of think through. We have to whiteboard a lot of engineering decisions and kind of come to something that's sensible and simple from the user perspective, because it does kind of suck to have.
Eager.numer.ai. A new subdomain.
And imagine
copy paste the code.
And new users won't know this, but maybe the OGs will. Before I joined, there was actually 7 different tournaments happening all at once for 7 different targets.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that's why if you ever directly interact with the API, that's why Tournament 8 is Classic, because that was the 8th. That was the 8th tournament against the Nomi target, or the Kazutsugi maybe target before Nomi. And So that's why it's T8.
So we can make a 9th.
Yeah, so maybe we can make 9.
Yeah, the trouble with all 7 of those targets is all of them were bad.
Yeah.
So there was nothing redeeming. And that was like, yeah, one of our many kind of revamps lesson. But I do think things are stabilizing. This stuff we starting to realize we like it. We like it as it is. We look at every way we can try to improve Classic and couldn't come up with much, frankly. Like longer targets didn't seem to matter. This MPC type of stuff for Classic didn't seem to matter. The only thing we can think of is maybe Atika's sub-tournament.
Yeah. Selfish question. Do you ever see discontinuing the Classic tournament, leaving us all hanging out to dry? LOL. I don't see any reason why we would ever want to do that.
Yeah, I do like the Classic tournament.
It's the meta model is supreme. It is.
Yeah.
Like, go look at the leaderboard.
Exactly. And sometimes, in the company, you can see periods a long time ago where it wasn't this clean. It was like, yeah, the meta model's sometimes winning, but sometimes it's losing. And now it's like, it's been very clean, clear-cut domination of the meta model, or what we call supremacy.
Yeah, meta model supremacy. That's a reference to an old blog post that Richard made a while back, several years ago. Classic's trained dataset is getting outdated, and I feel it affects the quality of predictions. Are there any plans to update it? That's actually something I've also been considering recently, is this the train val split that we have set up on the tournament is obviously the validation set grows every week. The classic data set is or the train data set is set in stone. Essentially, this train val split is
really? Yeah.
is kind of like a set cutoff. It's definitely something we could consider updating. Maybe we could have like a dynamic train val split that always cuts it in 50.
We could also
50,
just
50.
call it all train data.
That is true. Yeah.
People do train on val.
Yeah.
And you are kind of supposed to.
Yeah, actually the train val split kind of came from it's kind of like a legacy concept in a lot of ways, which is we didn't want users to train on validation because we wanted to detect for whatever reason if you were training too much, overfitting. But I kind of think that's an outdated concept, especially with a lot of the tutorial notebooks that we have now. And diagnostics is obviously running on validation, but we could just have it run on any eras that you choose. I don't see any reason why we even have to have a separate data set.
I wonder if he means also like the features haven't been upgraded in a while.
I see, yeah.
But I don't know what he means. But that is something we know. Like we are actually building up piles of features.
Yeah.
And we do want to release them, this year. But we want it to be a big release. And one of the things you remember in our more stressed times as a company, we were doing releases every 3 months, changing payouts every few weeks, because we were like kind of running out of time. We didn't have the luxury to be nice. We had to rapidly iterate our way to, from zero to hero. And we did. But we don't have to like rush now. And it's something I talk about the company. There's this old blog post or something from this guy who works at Renaissance. And he said, one of the things was we were never in a rush. It was just a quiet, nice, peaceful research environment. And they were never in a rush. And I always like that because that's what you want to get to. There's something about this industry where even Warren Buffett will say something like, it's really like, if you want to be an investor, you have to have kind of a level head. You can't be like stressed and working frenetically, and it's actually like you need to be like Zen. And I think that's actually different to startup culture. So in a startup, you're like, let's move fast and break things and do all-nighters and be unhealthy, and it's actually like obviously not sustainable. So hopefully we've grown out of that phase. There'll definitely be more challenging times, but we don't want to be ever like rushing. But yeah, the new features are going to blow your minds. They will be the best features very uncorrelated features, and they'll be very, very cool. So I'm hopeful they'll be ready soon. But they're some of the most advanced features we've made. If you remember, there's features like rain, which had a big help, and that was us engineering the features. These new features are like that on steroids.
Yeah. Nice new features, and I think we'll also like consider kind of changing this like train val split a little bit, because I know the quote unquote train data set is getting smaller than the validation, which is a little bit backwards.
I think yeah, that is crazy. I think we just call it all train.
Yeah, it might be easier just to hand it out in a single file, but
yeah. Although with diagnostic works on all of train, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could
upload anything.
You could upload anything in the validation set, and we could just change that to you could upload any era, and it'll just calculate against that era for you. But again, most of the validation statistics are calculable locally, so a lot of users can just calculate it themselves if they want to.
I actually forgot to introduce Andreas.
Yeah.
And Andreas is also one of the new people who joined. He was on the Grandmaster Council. He was an intern at Numerai, and he finished his studies at MIT and joined us a few months ago. And so he's been quite involved in this new way of thinking for signals, MPC, and all that stuff, the sample weights and the neutralization matrices. So you can definitely ask him any questions in Discord.
Yeah,
sounds good.
What's your Discord handle?
Andralienware, ANDRALIENWARE.
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 I like
Okay. Do you have any last words about alpha MPC signals?
I guess it goes back a little bit to like you do really have a lot of what you need to train a good model already. And in the case where you did get the weights and the neutralizers, that could bring even more to your modeling techniques. But something to consider is sort of with the classic tournament, if you put if you have sort of irregular targets, your sort of scale of performances is similar over time. But if your signals predictions go from putting a lot of weight in high ADV or things with high weight, and then shift to much less tradable things with lower weight, or have a signal that's very factor exposed, your scales of performance will shrink. We don't rescale after neutralizing, which is sort of intentional. And that means you have to be very conscious of how exposed to factors your post-neutralization, post-reweighting your signal is.
But you won't be, if you use the neutralization matrix, you won't be exposed to anything.
Yeah, so you just have to be cautious also in training that you try to be consistent about it and make sure that you sort of understand.
Yeah, because basically it'll make you factor neutral, but it might squash the sort of leverage in your signal. So you really don't want it to come out like small. You want, and that would be indicative of you not having a pretty neutral signal to begin with, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and what we're kind of talking about is like if you take the absolute total sum of all of your predicted weights after you post-neutralize, post-sample weighting, if you do the absolute total sum, some people can have larger total sums of weight and others have smaller because some people are piling into easier tradable names that are being upweighted versus other people are trying to, predict on are predicting less tradable names with lower weight. So you do, yeah, basically Andres is saying, be aware of this and make sure you aren't kind of shooting yourself in the foot in terms of your total absolute weighting, because it will shrink your potential score.
And yeah, let us know if you find bugs. We did a kind of beta test here. No one sort of found a bug, But we are interested if like you have a signal that you know works on high capacity names and you know is good at high ADV and you know is very neutral and something's looking wrong, you let us know. We can try to fix it. Are these more?
Yeah, a few last minute questions that came in. About the 12-week lockups, it also lowers the daily earn/burn cap, right? 1 out of 60 instead of 1 out of 20. Yes, so we will be lowering the threshold as well there, which potentially is going to cap people a lot more. So we might have to. This is why we set the multipliers kind of low, is because 60-day scores can be higher magnitude. So we kind of wanted to bring it in line with what exists now, but we will have to also adjust the threshold, basically the capping of your scores, which might cap people a lot more because of this like 60 overlapping round higher leverage kind of thing. Please don't make any breaking dataset releases. v5.x is all fine, but no v6 unless we get like about 3 to 4 months before. We're going to make any updates to the dataset that is going to improve performance. We will try to be as nice as possible. We're going to give you as much time as possible to retrain your models, but that is within reason. If v6 comes out,
Do you think it will be a hard reset?
I don't think it'll be a hard reset. v5 was a significant change because we changed the universe, and that is the most breaking of changes. 5.x is probably going to be 5.1 is going to include these new features. There's not really going to be a universe update as far as I'm aware.
But there probably will be a target update, and so there's really going to be quite a lot of pressure to retrain, even if it's not forced pressure. But we do think, I mean, we do really need people to be retraining. Like set and forget kind of doesn't really work when things are moving so quickly.
And then last question here, what's the timeline for getting alpha/MPC and diagnostics UI? That'll be this week. I'll actually be working on that today. Do you have a public roadmap where we can see priorities? No, this is something I've kind of gone back and forth for a while about having a public roadmap. One issue with a public roadmap, I think generally, is you make promises that end up being very difficult to keep. I think anyone who works in, professional engineering for long enough will know that timelines are the hardest thing to predict, period. Because there will always be things that come up that were unexpected. There will be a library update issue or a versioning issue or whatever else research comes up that shows, this entire thing is fruitless.
I would say though, probably at NumerCon, there will be a kind of like a presentation about the future, put it that way.
Yeah, we will, like NumerCon is essentially like our chance to take a second to kind of map out broadly what we see. In terms of timeline, there probably won't be a specific timeline, but top priorities and where we see the future of the tournaments going is pretty important. I know benchmark models, for example, that was announced at the last NumerCon.
Yeah.
And it took us a while to implement, but we got there.
That was also the giving away the classic meta model was announced.
Yep, giving away the classic meta model.
That's also very important, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that'll be a good explanation of kind of where we are in the master plan and what the master plan kind of means over the next few years. So yeah.
Maybe something that we could potentially commit to in future quarters is once we decide our goals for the tournament for each quarter, we could potentially produce some kind of very stripped down version of that and say kind of this is roughly what our plans are for the quarter. One issue with that as well with the roadmap is it raises more questions than it answers. If we were to tell people, hey, we're going to have massive updates to signals and it's going to be new scores, but we don't know what those scores are yet and we don't know how to calculate them yet and we don't have, not all the research is figured out, people are just going to be asking us questions 24/7.
And actually, to be fair, we did tell people about this signal thing, and people were like, when is it coming out? And we were like, we're still working on it. Sorry. And certain things actually did happen. We had a new risk model that we developed, and now we could squeeze that risk model into this release and have the targets use the new risk model with all of its factors, not just the obvious factors. So yeah, they are things that are like that. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, cool. I think that was pretty much it for the questions. We'll
Okay.
give it a quick refresh and just double check. But yeah, I think signals and alpha and MPC is very exciting. V2.1 turnover. Obviously, our recent blog posts about the NMR buyback and
Hiring 5 new people.
hiring 5 new people, growing the team. All really exciting stuff, and there's a lot more to follow. And yeah, stay tuned.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.